Alright, we're going to be doing part 2 of advice to my younger self. The last video I did was from ages 14 to 18 about. So I'm going to talk about if I was giving myself advice from 18 to 22. Now, I was still in high school at 18, and I didn't start college until just about 19, because I was a little older in school because of birthdays and whatnot. So I was still in high school, and if I was talking to my 18-year-old self right now, I would tell them to make sure to do well. Not because you need to do well in school to be successful in life, but because of the lessons I think it can teach you in doing well. You learn how to work hard. As I stated in my last video, I kind of coasted by because I used my natural intelligence to get by in school. And I think there's a lot of kids out there, gifted kids, that do the same thing. They never learn how to study, and they just kind of, school is easy. And it doesn't actually help them in life that school was easy, because you don't actually learn anything from it. So make sure to try hard. Like, you're stuck there anyways. You might as well do your best. There's not really much more you can do, so you might as well make the most of it while you're there. Now, in addition to that, I would tell myself to get a job. Pocket money is nice, but I think learning a job early on in life is good. And I already said this in the last video too. If I could get a job earlier, I would have. And I did start working at 17, so at this point I had already had a job, but I would want something more consistent. I usually only worked during the summer, which is okay. Working maybe on the weekends might be a good idea, but it starts out your life, and a lot of young people now probably don't even want to work like a 9 to 5 job. And I'm not saying sign yourself up to work forever. Some people should, but I'm not telling you you're going to be working at this job forever. It's just to get some experience and get some money. So you can do a lot with those two things, and just having that to begin with, even if your job sucks. Like, I got another job when I was 19 or so. Yeah, when I was 19, I had a job at a grocery store working in a deli, and I hated it. But I think it really helped me out later in life, though, just providing money for one thing and experience to help you get other jobs, because once you've had a job, it helps you get another job. But it's not very important. I'm more thinking about it in the long term. If you're a young person and you can get a job and you can put some of that money away, it's going to be worth way more later on. Every dollar you earn is basically worth $10 to $20 in the future. And not everybody is going to run their own business and make a bunch of money that way. A lot of people are going to take, the normal path in life, and you're going to want to invest your money early if you want to be able to do anything with it. But that's what I would tell myself if I was 18. But I talked about this in the last video too, is to stop playing video games, play less. Don't play as much, because they take up a lot of your time, and you could be spending so much time doing so much stuff. There's so many things that I, in my late 20s, say, man, if I was in my early 20s, I would want to do that. And yes, I understand that there are people older than me that do the things that I want to do. And there are also older people that say they wish they were, in my age. But if you're 18, there's a lot of stuff you can do with your life. And, just being able to have some money to be able to do those things is nice. But Yeah, but stop playing video games. Takes up a lot of time. You know, because you're gonna need time to make some money, but you also need time to be able to do things. And I would have spent a lot of time learning. I think I say this my video before too, but you have even less time as you grow up. In like 18 to 22, I was probably the busiest I ever was. But once you get a job, things like a full-time job, you spend a lot of time at that job. Even though you're not necessarily busy and running around all over the place. Like in college, I worked multiple jobs. I had college, had all sorts of other stuff I was doing. It was the busiest time of my life. But sometimes I actually miss it because I was getting so much done and doing so many different things. But if I was going back to the topic, I'm 18. Now, at that time, I applied for college and everything and was going to college. My parents told me this is how you get a good job, go to college. And I ended up going to college. Well, I started going to college for physics, but I ended up getting a computer science degree. And I have used that computer science degree, but I probably could have learned everything from that degree on my own. Now, of course, at 18, I didn't know that. So, I can't really, I couldn't have really done anything differently then. But if I was talking to myself now, I might not even go to college. There's so many different options. If I was talking to someone else and they asked me, do you recommend going to college? And I don't think, if your goal is to make money and you're not becoming like a doctor or a lawyer or something that needs your degree, then maybe not going to college. There are plenty of other ways of making money. You can go into the trades and instantly make tons of money, plus you get paid for the training. If you're 18 years old, it takes 5 years to become a journeyman or whatever. I was looking at that the other day. It's a really good option. It's a really good option for most people. But if you're just going to college for money, you should really think about it and make sure that you need the degree. And even if you do need the degree, unless it's something like being a doctor where you're going to learn everything you need at school, if you go into like computer science like I did, be ready to spend a lot of time learning stuff outside of school. Like, I didn't realize this at the time, that you need to be just like constantly learning things. It's not just go to school, get a degree, and you're good. It's go to school, and really school is the supplement you're learning. It's not actually your primary learning in reality, because you should be doing projects and all sorts of other stuff. So if you go down the college route, make sure you're spending time like actually learning about your field and doing practical things in your field. Now, if you're going into something that you can't really do a lot of practical work in, you might not even need that degree to go into the work you want to do. Because if there's nothing practical to do, there's not really a difference. Unless you really, really need the knowledge, you can probably learn that knowledge on your own. Like I said, college is kind of to supplement everything. The importance of college, which I also didn't learn until I was older, is meeting other people, especially in your field, networking with these people, because these people could end up being your coworkers, they could end up being your bosses, they could end up being your employees, or your partners for business. Like, you want to get to know people at school. And if you don't like doing that, you might want to try something different, because that is one of the biggest benefits, networking. And also talking to your professors, people who may have had experience in your field, talking to them and getting to know them. And they probably can get you a job easier if you just get to know them. Like, do well in their class, get to know them. They could probably get you a job. I had some opportunities like that, and I didn't do a good job of following up with it. Um, so yeah, that's the most important part, is really networking, getting to know people. Especially your professors are probably going to know people in the field, and maybe you can even ask them to talk to people. Like, who do you know that works in the field? Could I maybe, get their contact information and then have like a coffee with them or a lunch or something, and just you learn so much more from that than actually even going to fucking school. Um, but if you're not going the college path, then you really need to focus, and this is me speaking to myself, focus on how you're going to make money. And as I've grown older, I've learned more things. Like, I don't want to I don't want to work like a 9 to 5. No, I do, because it benefits my life in lots of areas, and I can speak about that somewhere later. And you should, actually, you know. But when I was 18, I had so much more free time, even though I was busy during college, than I do now. But like, if you're going to start a business, you need to start learning how to start a business earlier. And you need to start working on stuff like this YouTube channel, like, start working on it earlier. Like, I'm just making these videos just to get the reps in. Maybe no one watches these. It's not too important whether or not people watch these. It's more important that I actually get them done, and me to test the waters on if this is something I want to do. Like, when you're young, you need to do a lot of that. You have way more time to do that. You could just sit in your room and make 10 videos. Like, you don't need to make videos on your way to the gym or the way to work in your car. You can just crank out 10 videos, and then that's more than a week's worth of content. Or, you can spend a lot more time actually putting effort into one video. So really, depending on what path I would go down. Would I do college again? Yeah, probably. If I had all the knowledge that I did now, I probably would, and I would do it way differently. I would probably end up actually getting my physics degree and a computer science degree at the same time, like I originally planned. I would work way harder at it. I would meet as many people as I could and get to know people and actually network. And not just like bullshit network. Sorry for the swearing, but just, it's not about just like knowing people and stuff. It's not transactional, like, actually get to know people and become friends with people. They don't have to become your best friends, but, maybe actually hang out with them and understand who they are. You don't know what kind of, sounds more transactional, but you don't know how they're going to benefit your life. In so many different ways. Just be nice to people. Sure. But yeah, that's what I would do. And I would also learn a lot of stuff on the side. You know, Getting a good job for the first 5 years of your life is a good idea, and just pooling up that money, because then you could do a lot more stuff. That is a valid strategy, instead of taking the alternate route and trying to be like, okay, I'm going to start a business because I want to do more with my life at a young age. You can still do your 9 to 5 if it pays enough, and then just pool up that money. Like, I'm going to make another like personal finance video. Not another one, a personal finance video, because I actually learned a lot from that, taking that in high school. And it carries on so many different things in your life, just knowing personal finance. The earlier you know it, the better. And personal finance really just comes down to saving, how much money you save. That's really it. But it can change your life with how much you save. and how much money you can accumulate early on. Because you don't need to have millions of dollars to be able to do things. You just have like 100 grand. That can last you a long time, especially if you don't live off very much. Because if you live off 20 grand a year, 100 grand is 5 years. Like, you could do anything in 5 years. Like, if you just had 100% time, you could definitely start a business. And if you have more than that, so on and so on. Now, I know some people will be like, 20 grand, you can't live off 20 grand. I mean, yes, your circumstances are going to be different, uh, especially when you're young, you don't have kids or anything, and you can live with your parents or other relatives or something like that. You're better off. Like, I was living with my grandparents at the time. I know circumstances are going to be different, but I can't make this advice towards me, uh, and hopefully it helps rather than advice towards everybody. But yeah, I feel like I would have told myself more than this, but I'm at work now, so I'll probably make a part three, maybe. Maybe I'll think about this a little harder and then go into it. You know, what would be my plan? Maybe I'll make another one for like 22 to 26, and then I'll make a video on like what's an ultimate plan, um, how I would have done things better. And you shouldn't focus on the past. If you're my age, don't focus on what you could have done better. Focus on what you can do better now, because these past talking about the past is really only useful for the people who are that age. If you're 18, there's a lot you can do with your life. If you're in your later 20s, though, this isn't really going to be helpful. What's really going to be helpful is just figuring out what you need to do now and doing it. Which, I mean, I could talk about that too, and if you're older than me, it's the same thing. It's not about the past. Really, the past is only useful for people to learn from. But you shouldn't spend any time really thinking about it in terms of like, I should have done this better. You should spend that time thinking about mostly the present, to be honest. Like 95% of the 90%, 85% present, maybe 10% future and 5% past. Like, use your past as something to learn from. Use your future as something that you're driving towards, but mostly spend time in your present because that's all you have. Anytime you're spending somewhere outside of the present, you're not doing anything. Like, you only have this present moment. Like, right now, all I have is right here talking to this camera. That's all I have. It has nothing to do with the past, and it has nothing to do with the future. But I'm going to leave the video off here, and yeah, I'm going to keep cranking these out. And hopefully I can come up with something higher quality than just car videos. But thank you for watching if you're this far in. Like 18 minutes of me rambling in my car. But like I said, it's mostly about getting in the reps. Yeah.